What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Friday, February 23rd, 2024, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 13:32 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we currently have US nuclear forces on high alert again. So we currently have four nuclear war command and control planes in the air, the Boeing E-6B Mercury planes. And we also have a U.S. presidential doomsday plane in the air. So something is about to go down because this entire week we've seen all these nuclear war command and control planes and doomsday planes in the air over the United States. Now, tomorrow is the 2-year anniversary of the war in Ukraine. And so we could see potentially a massive Russian ground invasion. We could potentially see massive missile attacks. I reported yesterday that Russia has massed 48 Iskander missile launchers on the border with Ukraine. We're hearing reports that as many as 50,000 Russian troops have been massing in southern Ukraine in the Zaporizhia Oblast. So I'm going to be doing live coverage. And if anything serious happens, I will go live all day and all weekend if necessary. But let me just show you guys what we have going on right now. So here are the nuclear war command and control planes. And what's interesting is one of them is actually getting aerially refueled right now over Kansas, which is extremely unusual. Okay, they don't usually aerially refuel a nuclear war command and control plane over the continental United States unless there's an actual emergency, simply because it's not necessary, or if they're practicing, doing training. So one of them is getting aerially refueled. And then we have another one near the Texas Panhandle, near the Oklahoma and Texas Panhandle area, just doing circles. Okay, right along the border there. And then we have the presidential doomsday plane flying over Georgia. And then we have another nuclear war command and control plane over northern Missouri right now. So, crazy situation this week with the nuclear war planes. Last night, there were two B-1 strategic nuclear capable bombers that landed in northern Sweden, and we were tracking this live last night. So they came in from the United States and they got aerially refueled over the North Sea, and then they proceeded to go through the Baltic Sea, and then they went north to northern Sweden, and then they landed at Luleå. I don't know why they would go up there. My guess is in the event of a war with Russia, they have some heavy bombers nearby in case they have to destroy Russia's nuclear armed submarines in Murmansk, which is not too far away. So here's a closer shot. You could see where they landed all the way up here in northern Sweden. And just to the east, you have Murmansk, which is where Russia has their northern fleet. That's where they have most of their nuclear armed submarines. So with these B-1s being that close, they can literally fly, within, I don't know, 1 hour and drop bombs on Murmansk and then turn around and come back if there were an escalation of some kind. But this is very, very serious, guys. For there to be two B-1s stationed now in northern Scandinavia is extremely alarming. Okay, we know that Russia has been threatening the northern parts of Scandinavia for the last year or so. So this is very serious, and this is where they got aerially refueled by three KC-135s. We have three solar flares that occurred yesterday. All of them were Earth facing. The strongest was an X 6.3 solar flare, which is the strongest flare since September of 2017. So we could see some effects this weekend, potentially as soon as tonight and tomorrow night. We could see potentially localized power outages or widespread power outages, even, and also interruptions to communications. So, three X-class solar flares in a 23-hour period. There was an X1.8, an X1.7, and then the monster X6.3. So we have to be on high alert, guys. And what's interesting is the NOAA said that these solar flares would not affect cellular networks. Okay, they were responding to all the rumors yesterday that, oh, the reason why the big cellular networks were down yesterday morning was because of the solar flares. And the NOAA is saying effects on cellular networks unlikely. Okay, it says here it is unlikely that these flares contributed to the widely reported cellular network outage. Okay, so the mainstream media was basically trying to stop the panic, and they were making up a story that, oh, it wasn't a cyber attack, it was a solar flare. It was all these solar flares that took down the cell networks, which now the NOAA is saying is a bunch of lies, basically. And last night, there were reports of a mass outage for Spectrum users. And yesterday, Change Healthcare and Canadian Lakes Pharmacy, which are both prescription processors, went down, causing delays in prescription medicine processing. People had to wait a day or two to get their medicine. So this is just the beginning of what I believe are going to be massive cyber attacks against our country, and they can literally shut down our power grid. Okay, they can literally destroy all kinds of infrastructure if they want to. Okay, the Chinese have built back doors in all of our critical infrastructure, and if they want, they can just log in and start messing with things, and they can really cause some serious problems. So you need to be prepared for that. And the Israeli foreign minister apparently told Sky News that we will not wait longer to reach a diplomatic solution on the Lebanese front. Okay, so Israel is not going to wait any longer for a diplomatic solution with Hezbollah. So I think as soon as Israel is done with Rafah, then I think they're going to go into Lebanon and deal with Hezbollah. And that's going to be very concerning because Hezbollah has a lot of rockets. They have thousands of rockets that they can launch at Israel immediately as soon as they start that ground invasion. And Israel has been preparing their air defenses for a multi-front war. So we have an interesting development coming out of Sweden. Sweden's security service, Sapo, may have potentially been attacked by Russian agents, possible Russian gas attack, okay, on Swedish soil. 7 people were treated in a hospital, and Sweden's security services Sapo office was evacuated Friday after a suspected gas leak there, authorities said, adding that the cause was unclear. Images from the scene showed police officers wearing gas masks alongside several ambulances and emergency vehicles as an area around the office was closed off. Around 1 p.m. today, there were indications that there was a dangerous substance at Sapo's offices. Patrick Soderberg, chief physician at local healthcare authority region Stockholm, told the AFP. So far, 5 people have been taken to the hospital with respiratory symptoms, and there are also 2 people that have sought treatment on their own for respiratory symptoms, Soderberg said. Soderberg added that an investigation was ongoing, but that they did not immediately have any information on what kind of substance they were dealing with. Yeah, of course. They don't want people to know the truth. Sapo spokeswoman Karen Lutz, meanwhile, told AFP that they had taken measures and emergency services are on site after receiving an alarm. The Nordic country is on high alert as it is expecting to clear the final hurdle to its bid to join NATO on Monday, with the last holdout, Hungary, scheduled to vote on ratifying its membership. Lutz added that the building had been partly evacuated but declined to give further details or comment on whether they suspected foul play. Of course not. Police said that an area of a couple hundred meters around the building had been closed off after a potential gas leak. Police and emergency services were at the site, and that some of those taken to the hospital were police officers who had smelled an odor when they arrived, police said in a statement. Newspaper Aftonbladet said witnesses had reported smelling something that reminded them of paint and that locals had been told to close their windows. The intelligence service this week released a report warning of the threat posed by foreign state actors, pointing the finger at Russia, China, and Iran. So I personally think that, this is clear as can be. This is definitely some type of a Russian operation against the Swedish security service, which is kind of like the Swedish intelligence. Okay. So very, very interesting and very concerning. And what's interesting is the B-1 bombers went there last night. So this happened the same day that the bombers landed there. And the U.S. is warning Russia not to deploy the nuclear-armed space weapon. This is being reported by the Wall Street Journal. Apparently, the U.S. has officially warned Russia not to deploy this nuke in space, which, the mainstream media is trying to say that it's a anti-satellite weapon, which is nothing new, guys. Anti-satellite weapons are nothing new. And furthermore, if you put a nuke into space for the purposes of making it an anti-satellite weapon, it would actually be pretty stupid because you're going to indiscriminately destroy a lot of satellites that could even be your own, okay? Because you cannot target specific satellites with an EMP pulse, okay, from detonating a nuclear warhead. It's basically a giant wave of energy that's going to destroy multiple satellites, and they could even be Russian satellites that get destroyed. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a discount on their 1 month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. This is a 1 month freeze-dried food supply. It has a 25-year shelf life. Normal price is $237. They've dropped it down to $177. So that's a savings of $60. And it's all packed within 2 rugged, water-resistant buckets. Free shipping is included. $177 for 1 month of food. Where are you going to find a deal like that? They also have a general store, and they're always running discounts in their general store on various prepping and survival items. They have everything from MREs, potassium iodide, to survival seeds. And to get to their general store, you got to click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com. And you'll see when you get there, they have everything you can imagine. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $60 off the My Patriot Supply 1 month emergency food supply. That's $180 for 1 month of food, free shipping included. The link is in the description below this video. And also check out their general store. They have everything you can imagine prepping and survival related, and they're always running various discounts there. The mainstream media is basically trying to prevent panic. They're being told by the government to say that so people don't panic. But the truth is they have nuclear warheads they want to put into space. And by doing so, it would eliminate our early detection of a nuclear attack by Russia. Okay, normally when a missile goes up into space, we can detect that. But if the warheads are already in space and they just drop them down from space, the warning time is going to be cut down to only 5 minutes or less versus a warning time of 15 to 30 minutes if they launch the the warheads on a missile from the ground or even from the ocean. Okay. And that's enough time to scramble bombers into the air so they don't get destroyed. That's enough time for the president to order a counterattack. That's enough time to evacuate the president and VIPs. But if we detect the warhead as soon as it enters the atmosphere, we're only going to have 5 minutes, which is not enough time to do any of those things. So, this could be an indication that Russia is planning a surprise nuclear attack on the United States. This is something that I've been saying for years, that Russia was planning this, that they've wanted to do this for years, and they're conspiring with China and Iran to basically launch this surprise attack on the U.S. simultaneously from multiple fronts. And Russia would be the leader with a surprise nuclear attack. And then China would attack our allies in the Pacific, okay, after we get attacked by Russian nukes. But that's just one scenario. So make sure you guys have a fallout shelter. Check out my nuclear war survival videos. I'll leave a link in the top right corner. Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant lost connection to its last backup external power line. The IAEA team of experts stationed at the ZNPP was informed that the 330 kilovolt backup line was disconnected at 2:04 p.m. local time on the 20th due to a problem which occurred on the other side of the Dnipro River, some 13 and a half kilometers away from the 330 kilovolt switchyard, which supplies backup power to the site. The cause of the disconnection was not immediately known, the ZNPP said, adding it had been informed by the Ukrainian grid operator that work on the line was underway. The ZNPP is still receiving the electricity it needs from its only 750 kilovolt line, but the loss of the 330 kilovolt backup line means that the plant currently has no backup options available for off-site power. Before the conflict, the plant had 4 750 kilovolt lines and 6 330 kilovolt backup lines. While there was no total loss of off-site power on this occasion, the ZNPP has suffered 8 events with a complete loss of off-site power since August of 2022, forcing it to temporarily rely on emergency generators. Wow, guys, so there were 8 times that they had to use the diesel generators. Okay, that is very concerning. This is a massive power plant. Okay, this is the biggest nuclear power plant in all of Europe. It has 6 reactors, guys. The extremely vulnerable off-site power situation continues to pose significant safety and security challenges for this major nuclear facility. Even though the main power line remains in operation, the lack of backup power demonstrates that the nuclear safety and security situation at the plant remains precarious, Director General Grossi said. And France's Air Force pilots have been threatened with attack by Russian forces during patrol missions in international airspace in a sign of rising tensions, French Defense Minister Sébastien Lecornu said Thursday. A Russian air traffic system threatened to shoot down French planes over the Black Sea that were patrolling in international airspace at the time, Lecornu said. You have Russian operators threatening French pilots with the shooting down of their aircraft, he said. The incident took place a month ago, but his ministry said later that it actually happened in November and involved a French AWACS plane specializing in airborne control and detection operations. It was a particularly aggressive radio exchange, a ministry spokesperson said, calling such an intimidation attempt in that particular area as a first. In a separate incident, a Russian warship was detected near the Bay of Seine, an inlet of the English Channel on France's Normandy coast, Lecornu said. Although the Russian vessel was in international waters, it was as if it had come to intimidate France, he said. So very interesting, guys. And we know that Russia almost shot down a British RC-135 rivet joint over the Black Sea. And ever since then, they haven't been flying the rivet joints over the Black Sea anymore like they used to. Okay, they used to fly them like every second day, and now they're not flying them there at all. And U.S. forces at the embassy compound within the green zone in Baghdad, as well as at the Baghdad International Airport, have conducted 5 air defense tests over the past 24 hours, which included the activation of the CRAM system. So, U.S. forces in Iraq are preparing for potentially massive strikes from Iranian proxies. And Denmark has confirmed that Ukraine is going to receive its first F 16s this summer. Ukraine can expect to receive the first batch of US made F 16 fighter jets from Denmark already this summer, the Danish Defense Ministry announced yesterday. Okay, so that's pretty serious news. And we know that NATO has given Ukraine the green light to attack Russian bases and infrastructure outside of Ukraine. Okay, so we could see potentially an escalation because of that. Here we have a picture of the British commercial ship that was hit by a Houthi missile a few days ago, earlier in the week, and the crew had to abandon the vessel, and the missile hit the engine room, and this vessel is now sinking. Okay, this picture was posted yesterday, so I don't know if this is at the bottom of the ocean now, or if it's just kind of half sunk and it's floating like that. But this is very, very serious, guys. And the Biden administration is not really doing anything about it. Okay. We have some pictures that were released by the Associated Press. Apparently, the U.S. Department of Justice has arrested 4 people with Pakistani identification that were trying to smuggle Iranian weapons into Yemen. And here we have a picture of what appears to be some type of giant warhead. This was released by the Associated Press. This is not fake news. This is a real picture. Okay. This looks like a nuclear warhead to me. I don't know. What do you guys think? This thing is massive. Unless it's just zoomed in like that and it looks a lot bigger than it really is. Okay. But the U.S. Department of Justice apparently has arrested several individuals with Pakistani identification that were trying to smuggle a bunch of Iranian weapons to Yemen, and ended up causing 2 Navy SEALs to lose their life in the line of duty. And here we have another picture that was released by the Associated Press. You can see some missile components here. And this is the actual boat that they were using to move these weapons from Iran to Yemen. Okay. And I want to just read to you an update from U.S. Central Command that was posted today. Apparently, they launched some strikes on Yemen yesterday and today. On February 22nd, at approximately 5 p.m. Yemen time, U.S. Central Command forces conducted self-defense strikes against 4 Iranian-backed Houthi UAVs and 2 mobile anti-ship cruise missiles that were prepared to launch from Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen towards the Red Sea. On February 23rd, between 3:30 and 5 a.m., Central Command forces shot down 3 Houthi attack drones near several commercial ships operating in the Red Sea. Okay, so 3 drones shot down today, and looks like 2 anti-ship cruise missiles yesterday and 4 drones yesterday. Okay, so the Houthis are stepping up their attacks, guys. Okay, they're escalating. And here we have a list of all of the Houthi attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea. Look at this, guys. 21 commercial vessels have been struck by the Houthis since November. Okay, that is a huge list, and nobody's really talking about it. Okay, the Biden administration is doing absolutely nothing to stop that. And Russia's war against Ukraine is not currently a stalemate, President Vladimir Zelensky said in a frontline interview with U.S. media outlet Fox News that aired February 22nd. Zelensky spoke with reporter Brett Baer near the front lines in Kharkiv Oblast, where artillery fire could be heard nearby. It's not a stalemate, Zelensky told Bear, saying Ukrainian forces are preparing new operations and new offenses. He specifically highlighted Ukraine's successes in targeting Russia's Black Sea Fleet. Russia will get some surprises, he said. Zelensky also said that Russian battlefield losses outweigh Ukrainian casualties. The ratio is 1 to 5, he said, meaning 1 soldier killed in action equals 5 Russian soldiers killed in action. Putin will never stop. He will go through Eastern Europe because he wants it. That's his goal. That's what Zelensky said. And Chuck Schumer arrived in Ukraine to meet with Zelensky. Here we have some video footage coming out of Poland. Looks like Poland or some other country was moving a fighter jet into Ukraine, and somebody filmed it as it was crossing the Polish-Ukrainian border, okay, escorted by Polish police. So I think this is a MiG-29, but you guys can let me know what you think. Looks like a MiG-29. So very interesting. And the Prime Minister of Armenia said he will suspend participation in Russia's NATO, the CSTO. He said the collective security treaty has not fulfilled its objectives as far as Armenia is concerned, particularly in 2021 and 2022. And we could not let that happen without taking notice, Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan said on February 22nd. France signed commitments to sell precision rifles to Armenia and train Armenian military officers, their defense ministers said Friday. So that's very interesting. Armenia pulling out of the CSTO and getting closer with the West. Very interesting. And South Korea and the U.S. staged joint air drills with advanced F-35 fighter jets on Friday. And South Korea and the U.S. staged joint air drills with advanced F-35 fighter jets on Friday amid joint efforts to strengthen deterrence against North Korean threats. The exercise took place over South Korea, involving the latest generation stealth fighters from South Korea and the U.S., as well as South Korean F-16s and F-15s and other aircraft, with a focus on enhancing joint operational capabilities. During the exercise, the F-35s formed a joint team to train on defensive counter-air maneuvers, such as intercepting simulated enemy aircraft and cruise missiles. So the situation on the Korean Peninsula continues to escalate, and that's one of the wild cards. Okay, we'll have to really keep an eye on Korea this year. And Polish farmers said on Friday that they would block a key highway connecting Germany to Poland as part of a growing protest over European regulations and cheaper imports. Farmers would block the main A2 highway from Warsaw to Berlin at the Słubice frontier post for 24 hours starting Sunday. Dariusz Wróbel, a spokesman for the farmers' protest movement, told AFP. So very interesting, guys. So the Polish farmers are now going to block the border of Germany in addition to the border of Ukraine. And here we have some U.S. military activity over South Korea. We had 2 reconnaissance planes over South Korea last night along the DMZ, and we had several C-130s go from Okinawa to South Korea. And here we have a P-8 Poseidon sub-hunter plane that was patrolling the Baltic countries. And what's interesting is it was flying over land. These planes don't normally fly over land, so I'm not sure why it was doing that. But you can see it did like a loop over Estonia and a loop over Latvia. These planes are made to detect submarines, so that's very interesting. It's possible that some of the sensors were reconfigured so they could pick up land threats as well. And it was also doing a boomerang pattern right off the coast of Kaliningrad. And here we have a close-up shot of the American reconnaissance planes in South Korea. What's funny is one of them had the call sign ABCDEFG I think that's pretty hilarious. And we had some earthquakes in Puerto Rico yesterday. There were 6 pretty strong earthquakes. We had a 3.5, a 3.4, a 2.7, a 2.7, a 2.6, and a 2.6, and they were all fairly shallow. So I don't know what's going on over here in Puerto Rico, but wanted to share that with you. We also had more earthquakes near Oklahoma City yesterday. We had two 2.6 magnitude earthquakes. And here we have some footage of an American M1 Abrams tank near Avdiivka in eastern Ukraine. So, very interesting to see an American tank being used by the Ukrainians, but that is an M1 Abrams, guys. So that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back later on tonight with more breaking news. I'm going to be doing a live stream later and over the weekend to cover the 2-year anniversary of the war in Ukraine. So make sure you're subscribed, hit the bell icon down below so you get notified when I post these updates. And until next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.